In this world, God has created many creatures. And these creatures were meant to support man's existence and livelihood. God made man to rule and subdue over them. But, because of sin, man lost the dominion.
Since then, things are not usual, life is different. But as humans we can learn much from other creatures still. Our God has made it possible that they can be part of us. They are important even though since Eden when we created enmity we don't live with them well. So, today we shall look at a certain type of creatures, the spider, more specifically a type called the water spider. In Europe, Asia and parts of Africa lives a curious little spider that has its home under the water. The female, also known as diving bell spider, spins a tiny web in the shape of a bell, attaching it to stems of water weeds and plants just below the surface of freshwater pond. All spiders need to breathe air, so the water spider takes its air along like a skin diver. On the surface she traps tiny bubbles in the hairs of her body, then hurries home and brushes them under her web. The spider makes many trips to bring back air bubbles for her underwater bubble nest. The waterproof web becomes inflated with trapped air and makes a perfect diving bell where she lives, eats and lay her eggs. If the fresh air is used up, the water spider returns to the surface to breathe and collect more fresh air bubbles for her home. Living below, and yet breathing the air from above, this little spider is constantly surrounded by water yet remains perfectly dry. The servant of the Lord Job says, in Job 33 verse 4, "The Spirit of God hath made me, and the breath of the Almighty hath given me life." The water spider illustrates how Christians may be in the world but not of the world. No matter how much water surrounds the spider, it still is able to breathe air because it takes a bubble of air with it wherever it goes. How can the Christian live with a constant connection to heaven while living in this sinful world? Through prayer. Like the breath of the soul, we can pray to Jesus no matter what our surroundings. Prayer is just as necessary to our spiritual life as oxygen is to our physical life. May we be like the water spider as Christians. Be blessed.